from the campus of Hamilton Middle School. I'm Chris, and I welcome you to the first of the 2020 presidential debates between President Donald J. Trump and former Vice President Joe Biden. I can assure you none of the questions have been shared with either of the two candidates. Each candidate will have 2 minutes to reply with no interruptions. Gentlemen, a lot of people have been waiting for this night, so let's get going. Our first subject is the Supreme Court. President Trump, you nominated Amy Coney Barrett over the weekend to succeed the late Ruth Bader Ginsburg on the court. You say the Constitution is clear about your obligation and the Senate's to consider a nominee to the court. Vice President Biden, you say that this is an effort by the President and the Republicans to jam through on an appointment in what you call an abuse of power. My first question to you both tonight, why are you right in the argument you make and your opponent wrong? President Trump, in this first segment, you go first, 2 minutes.
Thank you very much, Chris. I'll tell you very simply, we won the election, elections have consequences. We have a phenomenal we have the Senate, we have the White House, and we have a phenomenal nominee. Top academic, good in every way, So her biggest endorsers, in fact, are very liberal people from places like Notre Dame and others. She's going to be fantastic. And we won the election, therefore we have the right to choose her. And very few people knowingly would say otherwise. The Democrats, they wouldn't even think about not doing it. The only difference is they would try and do it faster. They would definitely try and do it faster. And this would probably also happen in reverse. Definitely happen in reverse.
President Trump, thank you. Same question to you, Vice President Biden. You have 2 minutes.
Well, first of all, thank you for doing this and looking forward to this, Mr. President.
Thank you, Joe.
The American people have a right to have a say in who the Supreme Court nominee is, and that say occurs when they vote for the United States Senators and when they vote for the President of the United States. They're not going to get that chance now because we're in the middle of an election already. The election has already started. Tens of thousands of people have already voted, and so the thing that should happen is we should wait. We should wait and see what the outcome of this election is, because that's the only way the American people get to express their view is by who they elect as president and who they elect as vice president.
During that period of time, we have an opening. I'm not elected for 3 years, I'm elected for 4 years.
Gentlemen, we're now into open discussion.
Number one, he knows what I proposed on healthcare. What I've proposed is that we expand Obamacare and we increase it. We do not wipe any. And one of the big debates we had with 23 of my colleagues trying to win the nomination that I won were saying that Biden wanted to allow people to have private insurance still. They can, they do, they will under my proposal.
That's not what you said, and that's not what your party is saying.
Well, first of all, that is simply a lie.
Your party doesn't say it, and your party wants you to go socialist medicine, socialist healthcare.
The party is me, right now. I am the Democratic
And they're
Party.
going to dominate you, Joe.
I am the Democratic Party right now. The platform of the Democratic Party is what I, in fact, approved of. What I approved of. Now, here's the deal. The deal is that it's going to wipe out pre-existing conditions. And by the way, the 200,000 people that have died on his watch, how many of those have survived? Well, there's 7 million people that contracted COVID. What does it mean for them going forward if you strike down the Affordable Care Act?
Joe, you've had 308,000 military people dying because you couldn't provide them proper health care in the military, so don't talk to me about
I'm
this.
happy to talk about this.
And you were here, and if you were here, it wouldn't be 200, it would be 2 million. Because you were very late on the draw, and you didn't want me to ban China, which was heavily infected. You didn't want me to ban Europe.
All right, gentlemen. Mr. President?
We're talking about 2 million people.
You're not going to be able to shut him up.
Mr. President, as the moderator, we're going to talk about COVID.
That was a really productive segment, wasn't it? Keep yapping,
The people
man.
understand, Joe.
They sure do.
47 years and you've done nothing. They understand.
All right, the second subject is COVID-19, which is an awfully serious subject, so let's try to be serious about it. We have had more than 7 million cases of coronavirus in the United States, and more than 200,000 people have died. Even after we produce a vaccine, experts say that it could be months or even years before we come to anything approaching normal. My question for both of you, is based on what you have said and done so far, and what you have said you would do starting in 2021, why should the American people trust you more than your opponent to deal with this public health crisis going forward? In this case, the question goes to you first, sir. 2 minutes, uninterrupted.
Good luck. 200,000 dead. As you said, over 7 million infected in the United States. We in fact have 4% of the world's population, 20% of the deaths. 40,000 people a day are contracting COVID. In addition to that, about between 750 and 1,000 people a day are dying. When he was presented with that number, he said, "It is what it is." Well, it is what it is because you are who you are. That's why it is. The president has no plan. He hasn't laid out anything. He knew all the way back in February how serious this crisis was. He knew it was a deadly disease. What did he do? He's on tape as acknowledging he knew it. He said he didn't tell us or give people a warning of it because he didn't want to panic the American people. You don't panic, he panicked. In addition to that, what did he do? He went in and we were insisting that the people we had in the ground in China should be able to go to Wuhan and determine for themselves how dangerous this was. He did not even ask Z to do that.
Wrong.
He told us what a great job Z was doing. He said we owe him a debt of gratitude for being so transparent with us. And what did he do then? He still did nothing. He waited and waited and waited. He still doesn't have a plan.
Wrong.
Sir, it's his 2 minutes.
It's so wrong.
I laid out back in March exactly what we should be doing, and I laid out again in July what we should be doing. We should be providing all the protective gear possible. We should be providing the money the House has passed in order to be able to go out and get people the help they need to keep their businesses open. Open schools cost a lot of money. You should get out of your bunker and get out of the sand trap in your golf course and go to the Oval Office and bring together the Democrats and Republicans and fund what needs to be done now to save lives.
First of all, Joe, I just want to say we all know that you spend much more time on the golf course than I do. Second of all, so if we listen to you,
Wait, you have 2 minutes, sir.
you didn't think we should have closed our country because you thought it was terrible. You wouldn't have closed it for another 2 months. By doing it early, in fact, Dr. Fauci said Donald Trump saved thousands of lives. Many of your Democrat governors said Donald Trump saved thousands of lives. We worked with the governor. Oh, really? Go take a look. Governor said I did a phenomenal job. Most of them said that. In fact, people that would not necessarily be on my side said that Donald Trump did a phenomenal job. We got the gowns, we got the masks, and we made the ventilators. You wouldn't have made the ventilators. And now we're weeks away from a vaccine and we're doing therapeutics already. Fewer people are dying when they get sick, far fewer people are dying. We've done a great job. The only thing we haven't done a great job is that because the fake news. No matter what you say it and they give me bad press on it. It's just fake news. They give you good press, they give me bad press, because that's the way it is, unfortunately. But let me just say something. I don't care. I've gotten used to it. But I'll tell you, Joe, you could have never done what I have done. You could have never done this job. You don't have it in your blood. You could have never done that.
I know how to do the job. I know how to get the job done.
Well, you didn't do very well during the swine flu, H1N1. You were a disaster. Your own chief said you were a disaster.
14,000 people died, not 200,000.
Florida, that's the disease, by the way.
Sir, you made a point. Let him answer it.
And there was no one. We didn't shut down the economy. This is his economy he shut down. The reason it's shut down is because, look, you folks at home. How many of you got up this morning and had an empty chair at the kitchen table because someone died of COVID? How many of you are in a situation where you lost your mom or dad and you couldn't even speak to them? You had a nurse holding up the phone so you could, in fact, say goodbye.
We would have lost 4 more people, far more. You would have been months late. You were months behind me, Joe.
His own CDC director says we could lose as many as another 200,000 people between now and the end of the year. And he said if we just wear a mask, we can save half of those numbers. Just a mask. And by the way, in terms of the whole notion of a vaccine, we're for a vaccine. But I don't trust him at all, nor do you. I know you don't. What we trust is a scientist.
You don't trust Johnson & Johnson, Pfizer?
Okay, gentlemen, let me move on to the questions about the future because you have both touched on the two questions I'm going to ask. Focusing on the future first, President Trump, you have repeatedly either contradicted or been at odds with some of your government's own top scientists. The week before last, the head of the Centers for Disease Control, Dr. Redfield, said it would be summer before the vaccine would become generally available to the public. You said that he was confused and mistaken. Those were your two words. But Dr. Slawi, the head of your Operation Warp Speed, has said exactly the same thing. So are they both wrong?
Well, I've spoken with both companies, and we can have it a lot sooner. It's a very political thing, because people like this would rather make it a political thing than save lives.
God.
It's a very political thing. I've spoken to Pfizer. I've spoken to all the people that you have to speak to. Moderna, Johnson & Johnson, and others. They can go a lot faster than that by law. It's become a very political thing because the left, or I don't even know if I can call them left. I don't know what I can call them.
So you're suggesting that the head of your Operation Warp Speed, Dr. Slawi...
I disagree with him. No, I disagree with both of them. And he didn't say that. He said that it could be there, but it could also be much sooner. I had him in my office 2 days ago.
He talked about the summer, sir, before it's generally available, just like Dr. Redfield.
Because he said it's possible that we could have the answer before November 1st. It could also be after that.
I'm talking about when it's generally available, not...
Well, we're going to deliver it right away. We have the military set up. Logistically, they're all set up. We have our military that delivers soldiers that can do 200,000 a day. They're going to be delivering.
This is the same man who told you, by Easter, this would be gone away. By the warm weather, it had begun. Miraculous, like a miracle. And by the way, maybe you could inject some bleach into your arm and that would take care of it. This is the same man.
That was said sarcastically, and you know that. That was said sarcastically.
So here's the deal. This man is talking about a vaccine. Every serious company is talking about maybe having a vaccine done by the end of the year. But the distribution of that vaccine will not occur until sometime beginning of the middle of next year to get it out. If we get the vaccine, and pray God we will, pray God we will.
Let me just tell you something, Joe. If you would have had the charge of what I was put through, I had to close the greatest economy in the history of this country. And by the way, now it's being built again, and it's going up fast.
Will he just shut up for a minute, this clown?
I want to move on to another subject. President Trump, you have begun to increasingly question the effectiveness of masks as a disease preventer. And in fact, recently you have cited the issue of waiters touching their masks and touching plates. Are you questioning the efficiency of masks?
No, I think masks are okay. You have to understand. If you look, I have a mask right here. I put on my mask when I think I need it. Tonight, for example, everybody has had a test and you've had social distancing and all of the things that you need to have, but I wear masks.
Just like your rally.
When needed, I wear masks.
Okay, let me ask.
I don't wear a mask like him. Every time you see him, he could be speaking 200 feet away, and he shows up with the biggest mask I've ever seen.
Vice President Biden, go ahead, sir.
Look, the way to open businesses is give them the withdrawal to be able to open. We provided money that...
But I was asking you, sir, about masks.
Well, masks make a big difference. His own head of the CDC said if we just wore masks between now, if everybody wore a mask and social distance between now and January, we'd probably save up to 100,000 lives. It matters. It matters.
I want to ask...
I'm okay with masks. I'm not fighting masks.
I want to ask you both about one last subject because your different approaches has even affected the way that you have campaigned. President Trump, you're holding large rallies with crowds of people, thousands of people.
Outside.
Yes, sir. Agreed. Vice President Biden, you're holding much smaller events with...
Because nobody will show up.
People with masks.
Well, it's true. Nobody will show up to his rallies.
All right. In any case, why are you holding the big rallies?
Because people want to hear what I have to say.
But you're not worried about us spreading disease?
I'm doing my job as president, and I have 35,000 people show up at airports. We use airports and hangars, and we have had a lot of people.
Are you not worried about the disease issues, sir?
Well, so far we have had no problem whatsoever. It's outside. That's a big difference according to experts. We do them outside and we have tremendous crowds, as you see, and literally on 24 hours notice. And Joe does all the circles and has 3 people someplace.
By the way, did you see one of the last big rallies he had? A reporter came up to him to ask a question, and he said, no, stand back, put on your mask, put on a mask. Have you been tested? I'm way far away from those other people. That's what he said. I'm going to be okay. He's not worried about you. He's not worried about the people out there.
We've had no negative effect.
No negative effect. Come on.
We've had no negative effect, and we've had 40,000 people at these rallies.
Alright, you just want to quickly finish up?
Yes, I would. He's been totally irresponsible the way in which he has handled the social distancing and people wearing masks. Basically encouraged them not to. He's a fool on this.
If you could get the crowd, you would have done the same thing, but you can't. Nobody cares.
Moving on, Vice President Biden, the biggest problem, in fact, over the years with mail-in voting has not been fraud, historically. It has been that sizable numbers, sometimes hundreds of thousands of ballots, are thrown out because they have not been properly filled out, or there is some other irregularity, or they missed the deadline. So the question I have is, are you concerned with mail-in ballots?
When you get a ballot and you fill it out, you're supposed to have an affidavit. If you didn't know, you have someone say that, this is me. You should be able to, if in fact you can verify that's you before the ballot is thrown out. That's sufficient to be able to count the ballot because someone made a mistake and not dotting the correct I. Who they voted for, testify, say who they voted for. Say it's you. That is totally legitimate.
Alright.
You know it can't be done. You know it can. And already there's been fraud.
Mail service delivers 85 million pieces of mail a day.
We can keep talking. In 8 states, election workers are prohibited, currently by law. 8 states from even beginning to process ballots, even taking them out of the envelopes and flatten them until election day. That means that it's likely, because there are going to be a huge increase in mail-in balloting, that we are not going to be able to know on election night who the winner is. That it could be days, it could be weeks,
Could be months.
until we find out who the new president is. First for you, sir, finally, the vice president, and I hope neither of you will interrupt the other, will you urge your supporters to stay calm during this extended period, not to engage in any civil unrest, and will you pledge tonight that you will not declare victory until the election has been independently certified? President Trump, you go first.
I'm urging my supporters to go to the polls and watch very carefully, because that's what has to happen. I'm urging them to do it. As you know, today there was a big problem in Philadelphia. They went to watch, they're called poll watchers, a very safe, very nice thing. They were thrown out. They weren't allowed to watch. You know why? Because bad things happen in Philadelphia. Bad things. And I'm urging my people, I hope it's going to be a fair election. And if it is a fair election...
You're urging them what?
I'm 100% on board, but if I see tens of thousands of ballots being manipulated, I can't go along with that. And I'll tell you why.
What does that mean, not go along?
I'll tell you what it means. It means that you have a fraudulent election. You were sending out 8 million ballots.
And what would you do about that?
They're not equipped. These people aren't equipped to handle it. Number one. Number two, they cheat. Hey, they found ballots in a waste paper basket 3 days ago. And they all had the name military ballot. And they were military. And they all had the name Trump on them.
Vice President Biden.
Yes. And here's the deal. We count the ballots, as you pointed out. Some of these ballots in some states can't even be opened until election day. And if there's thousands of ballots, it's going to take time to do it. And by the way, our military, they've been voting by ballot since the end of the Civil War, in effect. And that's what's going to happen. Why is it for them somehow not fraudulent? It's the same process. It's honest. No one has established at all that there's fraud related to mail-in ballots, that somehow it's a fraudulent process. He has no idea what he's talking about. Here's the deal. The fact is, I will accept it. And he will too. You know why? Because once the winner is declared, after all the ballots are counted, all the votes are counted, that'll be the end of it. And if it's me, in fact, fine. If it's not me, I'll support the outcome. And I'll be a president, not just for the Democrats. I'll be a president for the Democrats and the Republicans. And this guy,
I want to see an honest ballot count.
Gentlemen, let's say that's the end of it. This is the end of this debate.
I want to see an honest ballot count.
We're going to leave it there. President Trump, Vice President Biden, it's been an interesting discussion. I want to thank you both in participating in the first debate. Thank you, thank our viewers, and have a good evening.
I was trying to